Hey guys, welcome back to Erin in Copenhagen and Happy New Year, or God Nytår as they say here in Denmark. I got such a positive response to my Danish Christmas traditions video that I thought I'd do a little continuation and talk about Danish New Year's traditions. Danes go crazy at the end of each year and they have a lot of fun traditions that I found really interesting when I first moved over. So I've compiled a top 10 for you here as well as how they compare to my upbringing. Let's get started. So the first one is fireworks. I know pretty much every country does their own fireworks. Danes do it on a whole other level. They spend so much money on fireworks. I googled it. It's approximately 400 million Danish kroner per year that they spend on fireworks, which is about 60 million US dollars or 46 British pounds. It's a lot. They go nuts. For me as a foreigner, I first noticed that fireworks, just the sheer abundance of them, but also that they're more accessible to kids. Like you'll see young kids setting them off and everything. And even from a young age, they'll get those little, what do you call them? Like little Chinese snapping, the little pop ones that you throw on the ground, which they're pretty harmless, but like kids from a very young age, they'll get those ones. And also the less fun side of this, at least for me, is that any large, if you go to see fireworks, for example, at the City Hall Square, any large gatherings of people will be shooting fireworks into the crowds of people. Like they do not care. They are aiming for you. So it's really scary as a foreigner. You just think like, oh, okay, the first one, maybe that was an accident. Then the second and the third, no, they're aiming for you. So if you get spooked by that kind of stuff, then maybe avoid large crowds on New Year's Eve here in Denmark. I think traditionally, again, like many places around the world, fireworks were seen as a way to kind of ward off bad spirits and then let the new year kind of come in new, fresh, untainted. So yeah, it's a nice tradition. It's just the Danes do it on a whole other level. So the next one is a tradition that happens at midnight. And they call it jumping into the new year. So the idea is that you get up on the sofa or a dining chair or something like that, wherever you are. I've heard a couple of different explanations for why people do this. It's generally just symbolic for a new beginning. Might be a bit of a difficult challenge, but you're just jumping into it 2 feet first. It's definitely seen as bad luck if you don't jump off a chair. I also asked my husband, I was like, but don't they, like, do you kiss at midnight? He's like, yeah, we do that too. But you'd probably jump off the chair first. So the priorities are a little bit different here. The next one is the Queen's speech. Everyone gets together at 6 p.m. and watches the Queen's speech, usually with a glass of champagne. I think that's been kind of the tradition for the last few decades. And I have to say, I should do a video on the Danish royal family, or just specifically the Queen, because I really love the Danish Queen. She just always sums up the year in a really clever, concise way, and she's very inclusive in her speeches. So this is a really nice tradition. You know that pretty much every household in Denmark at this time, at 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve, has turned on their TV and they're listening to the Queen. Now going on to some food traditions. It's custom here on New Year's to have cod, so the fish, white fish. I've heard a couple explanations for this one as well. Some have theorized that it's just after the heavy, fatty foods of Christmas, it was kind of a nice, fresh alternative to ring in the new year. There's also, I think, a bit of a religious background to it where during Advent, people would be fasting, and this was kind of seen as not like a real meat, like you wouldn't really be breaking the fast if you had white meat. So that's kind of how cod came around. It's just a nice, light, fresh meal that everybody will have together on New Year's. Continuing on with the food theme is, of course, Kransekage, which I'll put a picture up here on the screen, but it's this tall, directly translated, it's called wreath cake, and it's this marzipan style cake where it's like layers of rings stacked up and it's got some nice icing on the top. I'm not a huge marzipan fan, so I don't really go running to this each year, but it's something that is in pretty much every Danish household. And you can also, if you don't want to buy like the full stack, I guess you'd say, the full Kransekage, around this time of year in the supermarkets or places like that, you can also kind of get like pieces of them in like little like takeaway boxes. So if you're just kind of craving some Kransekage, but you don't want to splurge on a whole one just for yourself or whatever, then you can buy little pieces of. Or if you're a tourist and you're in town for the holidays, you can have a little takeaway box and try it for yourself and see what you think. So the next one is 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗢𝗦, which directly translated table bombs, and it's literally just like confetti cannons, like party poppers, that kind of thing. Every table spread will have them kind of dotted around as you're eating your meal, and generally as the meal winds down, people will start getting more drunk, more silly, and they'll set them off. Again, I know it's something that a lot of countries have, but in Denmark, this is something that every household will have on New Year's. The next one is, especially if you go to a specific New Year's Eve party, like if you have some Danish friends, they've invited you over, there will be silly hats, silly wigs, costumes, things like that, and you will be expected to wear them. So more as the night goes on after the meal is over. And I'm sure there's other countries and cultures who do kind of the same thing, but this is definitely a feature of a Danish New Year's party. Next up is the TV that you get on New Year's. You'll get a Mr. Bean's New Year's Eve special, as well as something that I actually have never seen, but it's something, I think it's an old German play or televised play from the 50s or something. It's called Dinner for One, at least in English. And that's something that families will gather around. Usually that's on later in the night, whereas Mr. Bean is on earlier in the night. And of course, there's also watching the fireworks at the town hall square here in Copenhagen. People will tune in to, if they're not there in person, they'll tune in on their TV to check those out. The next one kind of ties into the first one, fireworks, where Danes just lose their minds over. It's customary to do New Year's pranks here, and that could be anything from putting Christmas, so after Christmas people will of course put their discarded Christmas trees out in the street to be cleared away. Those might be hoisted up flagpoles, or just put in other weird, difficult to reach places that just looks funny. Mailboxes, that's a big one. They love to put fireworks in mailboxes and blow them up. Even to the point, it's such a problem here that people will literally put a bowl of water inside their mailbox in the hopes that it will just extinguish the firework before any damage is done. I remember when I first moved to Denmark, this was in Odense, it was my first New Year's there. I was walking around the city a couple days before, and I was like, all the city benches have been removed, I just thought they were bolted to the ground, but clearly not, they were taken away. And so I asked my friend, I was like, what's up with that? Where have they gone? Are they renovating or something? And then they were like, oh no, it's just because of New Year. And it's apparently just because people will just mess with anything that isn't completely bolted down or can be messed with. It will be vandalized. People just go absolutely crazy. It's all in good fun. It's not mean-spirited or anything. And there's a really nice vibe, especially if you go out, the clock has struck, it's after midnight, and you go out for a walk around your neighborhood. Everyone will be just yelling God Nytår at each other, and it's just such a nice atmosphere. Fireworks will be going off for hours, so if you've got nervous pets or children that don't like it, maybe keep that in mind before you decide to come here to Denmark for New Year's Eve. But it's a really nice, welcoming, friendly atmosphere, despite the pranks. Can I ask you a question? Yeah. What's when we're talking about New Year's pranks and stuff, what's the naughtiest thing that you've done? Or it doesn't have to be the No, it could be some of the pranks that you've pulled.
I think you should have asked that question before I noticed the camera.
No. What, you don't want to incriminate yourself? What, is it that bad?
No.
Did you blow up a mailbox?
Which one?
A mailbox.
No.
Did you do anything with flagpoles?
No.
So what, you were more inventive than that?
Yeah, I actually think I didn't do anything.
Oh wait, so your friends all did it, but you were just there, you didn't participate?
I wasn't the one doing the bad deed. Merely facilitating.
But if you facilitate, but then that's just as guilty then in the eyes of the law. Well, who would you do them on? Strangers or neighbors or other friends?
Yeah, because you don't want to it's too likely if you do it to your own neighbors that they're gonna notice. Yeah. They're gonna guess it's you, or you just don't want to, you want to make sure you're in another neighborhood.
Oh wow, you give that much thought to it.
Of course, we try to play around with fireworks, in a way I don't know. you'd empty like a box of 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗥𝗬𝗧, like take all the gunpowder out, the stuff out, and like put it in a bottle and make like a little bomb out of it.
Where would you put that bomb?
I just put it on the ground. Like we were pretty good. Like we were not the ones who put it in like
mailboxes.
Or like.
Would you have done that? Like.
No. I also like 𝗬𝗜𝗘𝗘𝗥𝗦, the ones that you can hold them and shoot at people.
Yeah, Roman candles.
Yeah, so like we probably shot at each other and at other people. Because like they're pretty harmless. It's just like a fireball.
A fireball. I don't want a fireball shot at me.
And you know, it's all like there's like a rhythm that goes dook, dook, dook. So like people know when to dodge.
Yeah, I think I've missed that memo growing up because I didn't have fireworks being shot at me. So the final one is one I must admit I don't do and I haven't really seen in person. But on New Year's Day, so on January 1st, it's become a tradition where I think it's like a German channel that broadcasts ski jumping, and just loads of Danes watch the ski jumping competition. Again, I haven't ever seen it, so maybe if you're Danish and you watch it, maybe you can explain the appeal. I mean, I guess I get the appeal, it's just tradition. It's on TV each year, so everyone just kind of sits down and watches it. But that's something that's quite unique, I think, to Denmark that they do here on New Year's Day. So for me growing up, really the only New Year's traditions that we had would be New Year's resolutions. And I mean, they do that here as well. But my family, we didn't really have any like super strong cultural things that we have to do each year on New Year's. So it's quite nice coming into a culture where they do have these like very specific things that if not everyone, most people will do, or they'll know what you're talking about if you mention it. And Danes are always super like, they love explaining their traditions and everything. So it's always like a super welcoming atmosphere. So I'd love to hear what your favorite New Year's traditions are, whether you're in Denmark and it's some that I've mentioned, or if you're somewhere else in the world. Is there something special that you guys do that you look forward to each year? And also Danes, let me know which ones I've forgotten, because I'm sure I've forgotten one or two important ones. But let me know down in the comments all your thoughts and yeah, what your traditions are. So this is my last video of 2021. I will be all ready to meet you in 2022 with a new video, lots of new videos. And maybe another comment you could leave is if you have any ideas for new videos you'd like to see or places you'd like me to visit in 2022, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thanks so much for a great year. Happy New Year.